Hey guys, thanks for joining me. I'm Joe, and I'm here with a replay of a match against Grishoalbrand. Looks like this opening hand has both of the namesake cards in Grishoalbrand and Nourishing Shoal. It's a pretty intricate combo deck. Looks to get Faithless Looting on turn 1, discarding Grishoalbrand into the graveyard. Turn 2, they want to play Goryo's Vengeance, bring back Grishoalbrand, swing for 7 lifelink, going up to 27 life, and then they can activate his ability a whole bunch of times to get up to like 20 or more cards. What they're looking for when they're drawing is a Nourishing Shoal with a Worldspine Worm. Now, Nourishing Shoal has an alternate casting cost. You can remove a green card with mana cost X from your hand rather than paying the actual mana cost. So if you exile Worldspine Worm, you gain 11 life. You get to keep activating Grishoalbrand. Eventually, what you're looking to do, I believe, is you're going to draw your deck. You're going to have a bunch of Simian Spirit Guides and a couple of Monomorphoses. And you're looking to resolve another Goryo's Vengeance after ditching Borborygmos Enraged into the graveyard. Bring that guy back, and then all of the lands that you've drawn off of, activating Grishoalbrand 100 times, you can just discard those all to Borborygmos Enraged. That's actually the only part of the combo, I think, Borborygmos. I guess you can count Nourishing Shoal and Simian Spirit Guides, but it's a pretty interesting opening hand. It's great for illustrating or explaining how the combo actually works. But this is obviously a mulligan since the opponent has no lands. On my side of things, it looks great. 2 lands and 2 AEther Vials, a bunch of creatures. The opponent goes down. They have 3 lands, Grishoalbrand, Monomorphos, Goryo's Vengeance. All they need is something to get Grishoalbrand into the graveyard. So I'm on the play. I'm going to open with Island into AEther Vial. The opponent draws a Night's Whisper. They're trying to dig as quickly as possible and hit their combo pieces. They didn't have the turn 1 Faithless Looting. I'm going to play my second AEther Vial here. Still don't know what I'm going up against with Blackcleave Cliffs here. Could be Jund. Desperate Ritual. So this hand is a little bit awkward so far. They're going to go with Night's Whisper here, lose 2 life, and draw 2 cards. They're looking for something like a Faithless Looting here. And there it is, Faithless Looting and Goryo's Vengeance. Very nice draws off of the Night's Whisper. So the opponent passes. I'll untap and advance my AEther Vials. I'm going to start to get some creatures out on the board this turn. Here is a Reejerey. But the opponent's got a lot going on this turn, and it might just be it for me here. It's an extremely explosive deck once it gets off the ground. The opponent's going to start with Faithless Looting, draw 2 more cards. They have Through the Breach, which is an alternate way of pushing a Grishoalbrand onto the battlefield. So they discarded Grishoalbrand and a Temple of Malice. I guess they don't need that land. And they're going to pass the turn. Choosing to, I guess, leave Goryo's Vengeance up if they need to do it on my turn. Interesting decision. I haven't actually played the deck myself. I don't know why the pilot wouldn't have gone for Grishoalbrand on his own main phase. They would have gotten to attack with him, get the whole thing going. Oh, I see. Maybe the opponent is pretty savvy and they were playing around Cursecatcher with the AEther Vial on 1. Pretty smart if that's what they were thinking. However, they do have a redundant Goryo's Vengeance, so if I was this guy, I might have run it out anyway on my turn. Let me know what you guys think about that play. So on the opponent's end step, I'm going to go ahead and bring in my Island Walk Lord. I'll advance both of the AEther Vials, and I continue drawing very well, but we see the opponent has all the pieces in place that he needs. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to catch up here. Silvergill Adept just to see what I can draw. Dismember is interesting because it can take Grishoalbrand down from 7 power to just 2. So it's going to make him a 2/2 flying lifelink, giving him far less life to work with for his draw ability. So Dismember potentially useful in this situation. Going to cast this Master of the Pearl Trident and try to tap down his Blackcleave Cliffs to see if I can get any indication as to what he's up to. However, when I move to go to the start of combat, the opponent's going to use that mana to cast Goryo's Vengeance and bring Grishoalbrand in right now. Now, without access to Island Walk, I have a decision to make. I can dismember the Grishoalbrand, put him down to just two, as a 2/2, and swing into him with my 2 4/4s. That would be an option, but in that case, Grishoalbrand would actually die in combat and go to the graveyard, in which case he can be reanimated again. I'm much more inclined just to let this guy get exiled at the end of the turn. So, after thinking about it for quite a while, I ultimately go with not attacking and just pass it to the opponent. They're going to go nuts with Grishoalbrand at the end step. They're going to activate his ability and draw 7 cards, and we can see exactly sort of how crazy it looks when you activate that ability like that. One of the reasons for bringing Grishoalbrand in on my turn is, as you just saw, it sort of prevents attacks, but it also allows him to keep all of these cards going into his turn. So he's going to activate it again. He's going to draw another 7 cards. At this point, it just looks like a blur of a deck here. Okay, can't activate his ability anymore, so Grishoalbrand will get exiled. The opponent's going to go to his draw step, and don't even know what they're looking for here. A Faithless Looting seems pretty good, actually. There's none of them in his hand, and he's going to want to get this Borborygmos into the graveyard. He does have this extra Goryo's Vengeance, so he could just Faithless Looting into Goryo's Vengeance right now. So that was an amazing top deck, as long as I'm not actually missing any other Faithless Lootings. Wow. Well, let's see. I guess maybe the opponent doesn't have the lands to do what he needs to do. Borborygmos does 3 damage per land, so he's going to need 7 lands at this point to kill me. Let's go ahead and count those guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so maybe he doesn't actually have enough to go off with Borborygmos here. Just count it up one more time. 1 land, 2 lands, 3 lands, 4 lands, 5, 6. I think I might have missed that Boseiju the first time. So 6 is super close. Let's just check one more time since it's so close. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah, if the opponent did Faithless Looting off of that top deck into discarding Borborygmos, Goryo's Vengeance to reanimate him, he could pitch 6 lands and deal 18 damage to me, but then would die on the crackback. So pretty tough. What other kind of angles does he have here? He has Through the Breach, which he could potentially cast if he has enough mana. Looks like he has a Desperate Ritual. He can pay 2 to get 3. That would get him up to 4. Does he have another ritual in here? I'm not seeing it. Monomorphos only lets him change the colors of his mana. It doesn't actually net him any mana. But he hasn't played a land yet this turn. So he can play a land, exile a Simian Spirit Guide. That would give him 5 mana. He could cast Through the Breach. And what? Well, he does have another Grishoalbrand. He could put that guy into play. He could also just discard Grishoalbrand with Faithless Looting and get him onto the battlefield with Goryo's Vengeance. If he played Grishoalbrand, he could attack in the air. That would put him up to 11. He could draw 7 more cards. Continue trying to go off. Let's see what happens here. So this guy's saying, oh, that was a bad 14. Looks like he's potentially getting ready to scoop here. So he's going with Faithless Looting. He does get to draw 2 more cards off the Faithless Looting. Doesn't look like those were the best there. Another Faithless Looting and a Simian Spirit Guide. See if either of those come in handy here. He discarded Grishoalbrand and Tormenting Voice. So here we're going to see Monomorphos to try to draw another card. And he hit the Worldspine Worm. I don't know, maybe he's looking for a Nourishing Shoal to get his life total back up. Another Faithless Looting is going to let him keep drawing. He used the 1 red mana off of the Monomorphos. So he's going to now discard Borborygmos Enraged. And he's currently just floating the 1 black mana. He put, let's see. So here's a Spirit Guide. I'm going to use Goryo's Vengeance. I just think that, I might have a counterspell and just kind of bluffing a little bit. The opponent's telling me here he forgot his land drop, so I let him play it with Goryo's Vengeance on the stack. Not a big deal. I think he might have it anyway. Let's see how it goes. So Borborygmos is going to resolve, and now let's see. How did the opponent draw all these cards this turn? he played a couple of Faithless Looting, which let him draw four cards. I think that might have been it. No, Monomorphos drew him another card. So he got a lot more chances to look at cards. He actually just needed one more land. So we had counted 6 before, but it looks like it's higher than that now, even after having played his land. So that might have been a little tricky on his part, since he was looking to dig for lands and hedging against playing out that extra land. Once he drew into some lands, maybe he realized that was he should have played it. I don't know, just a little bit poor sequencing. Not a big deal, I don't think. So he has now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is Xaxes. And if he had kept that swamp in his hand, he would have had 8. So he got there. Pretty good example of a game showing how Grizzle Shoal, the deck, can take a pretty clunky opening 7 and using cards that dig through the library a little bit, ultimately win on turn 3 or 4. So good stuff from them. Let's go ahead to game 2, see how that went. Looks like this is a mulligan for me. I had no lands, so I went down and now I have 2 counterspells, 3 mana, and 1 creature. That's going to be a keep. On the opponent's side, 3 lands, Spirit Guide, Desperate Ritual, Grizzlebrand, Worldspine Worm. Very awkward, these opening hands. I don't know if that's a keep or not. Probably a mulligan. Doesn't have any action. He says he's going to try it. So I get to scry, and I put an island onto the bottom of my library. Alright, let's see what the opponent draws. So that's great. That's going to allow him to draw some cards. That's one of the main things that this deck wants to do, is just see as many cards as it can, as you saw in that last game. I'm going to take this opportunity to run out Lord of Atlantis and get a bit of a clock going. So opponent draws into a Blood Crypt here, I think. Sorry, it was a Blackcleave Cliffs. No, I think he drew the Blood Crypt and had the Blackcleave Cliffs. So paying 2 mana, he's going to resolve Night's Whisper here. And he draws another Night's Whisper and another land. So he's going to pass here, and then on my turn, I drew into an Echoing Truth. I've got all the answers I need. Now the opponent is on 2 lands here, and currently doesn't have any reanimation targets in the graveyard. So he would have to have both a Faithless Looting and a Goryo's Vengeance in his hand. We can see that he currently doesn't have either of those. So to me, it seems like the opponent's development is a little bit slow. He seemed hesitant about keeping the hand. So I'm going to attack with this Lord of Atlantis, and let's see what I chose to do here. Looks like I just passed the turn. I think in retrospect that was a misstep. I don't think the opponent, looking at this replay now, not even basing it off of what I'm looking at in his hand, it's possible the opponent was slow rolling the Faithless Looting and the Goryo's Vengeance and all that stuff, but he's not representing any of that stuff, and I could have used the opportunity to get more of a clock onto the board. Instead, I passed, leaving up Echoing Truth and 2 counterspells. All great answers. Echoing Truth can bounce Grizzlebrand in response to activating his ability, or during combat, so he doesn't get the life gain. Well, we see the opponent did draw the Faithless Looting, but he's going to go with Night's Whisper first, paying another 2 life. Now, I could have chosen to counter this with the Negate, but the opponent has so many other powerful spells that I'm going to want to counter. Okay, so Faithless Looting here, and again, in hindsight, I left up the mana this turn, and I have all of these answers. I probably should have used, even though these spells seem pretty innocuous, I probably should have been trying to counter at least one of them. We can see that the Night's Whisper was a little bit ineffective. He just drew him 2 more Faithless Lootings. But these are really useful for the opponent to keep digging and seeing more cards. So ultimately, a pretty poor turn on my part. The opponent hit a Nourishing Shoal there, which is the combo with Worldspine Worm. He's going to get to gain 11 life whenever he needs it, probably when he's trying to go off with Grizzlebrand. So ultimately, I just had a huge tempo loss there, passing with 3 open mana. Let's see. Looks like the opponent is discarding down to hand size, and he's going to put a Blood Crypt and a Faithless Looting into the graveyard. Well, I drew another land, So I guess at this point I feel a little bit better about running out a creature and starting to swing for 3. If the opponent tries to resolve a Goryo's Vengeance, I do have Dispel up to prevent that from resolving. Opponent takes 3, going down to 11, and hits a Pact of Negation, which is pretty tricky stuff because now he can protect a turn where he's trying to go off against Dispel, interrupting him. So great top deck there by the opponent. Let's see how he chooses to pilot this turn. He's going to start with Faithless Looting. We can see he has the Grishoalbrand and the Worldspine Worm in hand. He draws a Through the Breach and another Worldspine Worm. Let's see, what's he going to discard? Discards a Desperate Ritual and a Worldspine Worm. The Worldspine Worm, when it's discarded, will get cycled back into his deck, shuffled back into his deck. So that was the Faithless Looting. The opponent plays his land drop for the turn. Sacks the Bloodstained Mire to get a Swamp. Taps 3 mana and exiles a Simian Spirit Guide. He's got 4 mana right now. He's going to cast Nourishing Shoal, exiling Worldspine Worm to gain 11 life, and he's going to Splice for 4 mana Through the Breach. Now this is an effect that we don't see that often in Modern, or really in any format. Splice onto Arcane. As you play an Arcane spell, you can reveal this card from your hand and pay its Splice cost. If you do, add this card's effect to that spell. So Through the Breach is going to be added here onto Nourishing Shoal. It's still, actually, the way that it works is it gets added onto the spell. So I can, if I counter this spell, both effects would be countered. Since he's not actually, he's not playing the card, the effect is being spliced onto this. We can see here that Nourishing Shoal is an Arcane spell, and Through the Breach has that splice onto Arcane ability. So it was really great that I left up this Dispel, but as we saw, the opponent top decked a Pact of Negation. He's trying to gain 11 life here and put Grishoalbrand onto the battlefield. Ugh, so there's the Pact of Negation. This is going to resolve. He's going to gain 11 life, play Grishoalbrand, draw 7 cards, draw 14 cards, go to combat, gain 7 more life, and draw another 7 cards. So at this point, we can see he's got the Monomorphos along with 2 Simian Spirit Guides. He's going to exile those guys to pay for Monomorphos, make black and whatever other mana they need for a Goryo's Vengeance to reanimate something. They're going to try to get Borborygmos in there, but not sure that they've got it yet actually here. Because Monomorphos into Goryo's Vengeance requires, that he has some fatty in the graveyard to reanimate. So as it stands, it looks like he needs some way to get Borborygmos into the graveyard. Or onto the battlefield. He could also cast Through the Breach. So he's exiling the 2 Spirit Guides. That's 2 mana. He's going to cast Monomorphos, making black and red. It draws a Grishoalbrand. What else do they have going on here? They have a Night's Whisper. They can use that to draw 2 more cards. But they need to be pretty specific cards, I think. See, fast forward through a little bit of this radio silence. A lot of thinking in this match. So the opponent is going to cast Night's Whisper here, and he drew 2 lands. Didn't get there. All right, so despite that crazy Dispel Pact of Negation interaction and getting to draw, I think it was 21 cards, the combo didn't quite get off the ground. So let's go ahead to Game 3 and see how that one went. Well, this looks like a really solid opening hand. I've got Relic of Progenitus to interact with this graveyard. So easy keep for me, and on the opponent's side, we see Faithless Looting and Goryo's Vengeance. Easy keep for the opponent. They'll get Monomorphos to draw cards, Night Whisper also to draw cards. The opponent's on the play this time. They're going to start with a tapped land. and they scry, and he put Blackleaf Cliffs from the top onto the bottom. Here's Relic of Progenitus. Draws another Faithless Looting here. So he's going to cast one of those guys, draw 2 cards. There is a Grishoalbrand right on time. Amazing how this works. It's, you know, watching the replay is so much fun because we get to see how these top decks play out. So that Grishoalbrand will certainly, actually, the opponent sees the Relic of Progenitus on the table. He's probably going to play smart and not throw Grishoalbrand in the bin right now, just because he would get exiled before he has a chance to actually get him onto the battlefield. So we see a Blood Crypt going to the yard, and what else is going to hit it? Well, there's the Monomorphose. So the opponent does wisely play around the onboard exile effect. At the end of his turn, I'll exile one of the cards from his yard. During my upkeep, I will exile the other one. Now, Spreading Seas is a tricky card to draw in this spot. If I had drawn almost anything else, my choice here this turn is whether to play the island and play out a creature and start establishing a clock, or just play the land and leave mana up to activate Relic in response to an attempted Goryo's Vengeance. Now, since I drew Spreading Seas, I know that these combo decks don't run a ton of lands, so in order for the opponent to go off next turn, they need not only Faithless Looting and Grishoalbrand to discard, they need Goryo's Vengeance, and then also, let's see, Faithless Looting is 1 red, Goryo's Vengeance is 1 black. So they've got red, they're going to have red and black here. So they've got their colors, but if, so they'll need a land if I cast, well, regardless of whether I cast Spreading Seas, they're going to need a land to go off next turn because they need to resolve Faithless Looting and Goryo's Vengeance. So they need to have both of those cards, but not just those cards, they need to also have the fatty to discard into the graveyard, Grishoalbrand. And they have all 3 of those sitting in their hand, as well as the land necessary to go off. So I try to push it a little bit here with Spreading Seas, trying to take them off of their colors a little bit and slow them down, draw a card. But ultimately, with this piece of hate on the board, I really should have just left the mana up. It was a mistake, I think. I played out the Spreading Seas, and unfortunately we see the opponent has all of the tools that he needs here. Gets a Blood Crypt at the end step, draws into another Goryo's Vengeance just for fun. Draws another Grishoalbrand just for fun. He's going to put it in the yard, and of course, here's the Goryo's Vengeance. He'll swing for 7, gain 7 life, and he's going to draw. He's got the Worldspine Worm into the Nourishing Shoal. This time the deck works extremely smoothly. Draw into their Simian Spirit Guides, Borborygmos, Goryo's Vengeance. We see another Nourishing Shoal. But they're going to get to gain another 7 life. They draw another 7 cards. There's a couple more Simian Spirit Guides, Goryo's Vengeance. I think they have all the pieces now. I don't think they even have to go to combat. Alright, so we're going to fast forward a little bit. Opponent's thinking about his line. Looks like he's swinging first. Going to gain 7. And then draw 7 more cards. Lots of mana. He's going to splice Desperate Ritual for 2 mana onto Nourishing Shoal. Exiling Worldspine Worm, he's going to gain 11 life. Exile that other Simian Spirit Guide. He's got a bunch of mana now. Can through the breach Borborygmos. He could have used Goryo's if he wanted to, probably. Although, if we want to just double check that, it would have required him to get Borborygmos into the graveyard somehow. Let's see, he does have a Faithless Looting, so he could have gone either way there. But I guess he would have potentially needed Monomorphose for black mana, and I'm not seeing that card. So it looks like he did actually need to go through the breach here. Alright, so we're looking for, what, 5 lands times 3 damage is going to be 15 to my face. So yeah, there it is. That's a fun match against Grishoalbrand. For those of you who haven't seen this deck in action, it's pretty fun being able to see all the cards that they draw. I was lucky enough to get there in the second game after the opponent drew, I think, 21 or more cards. But I really paid for my aggressiveness, recklessness, tapping out with Relic of Progenitus on the board. Well, live and learn, you know. In the future, I don't think I'll make that same mistake, and hopefully you guys can learn from it as well. So as always, thanks for tuning in. If you have any comments, please share them. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.